Give that boy a rock. Hello everyone, to Mental Tuesdays, or Talking Tuesdays. Yeah, obviously a day late. Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks, mentally, but, you know, it's one of these, you need to make sure you have the right support base, the people around you can talk to, and you can, work through what you're going through, because if you don't, then you're never going to get through it. So part of today is I've got a few questions. I'm going to ask my partner, Matilda, who's been pregnant for... It was all a lockdown, wasn't it, I think, pretty much? It was all of lockdown, pretty much, wasn't it?
Not pregnant. From July, so...
From July.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think so we're going to hear about that. And, I think we're nearly ready. I think baby should stay asleep for the next 5 to 10 minutes. We'll see. If not, you get to meet baby as well, so woohoo. It's a win-win. Like I say, I think my partner's going to join me, and we're going to try and do it together. At some point, we do obviously need to get a wider lens and do it properly. But right here, right now, it's you guys, welcome to our home. Like I say, everyone meet Matilda, who is the rock behind every man has a great woman in the background. And this is my great woman. Without Matilda, I definitely got well for myself, but
You
without...
can call me Tilly.
Tilly.
It's okay.
Sound like a new couple then. We've been together like 6 years.
I was going to say, that I'm not a fan of it.
But yeah, like I say, it's you've got to get better for you, but without her family and unconditional love, which I'd never had before, yeah, I wouldn't be anywhere. Everyone needs a bit of unconditional love every now and again. So hello Tilly. Would you like to, I don't know really, do we just go straight into asking you questions?
Hello.
I think it's the best way. It's the first kind of, proper. So I'd say for a good question to start with, as an interview, is obviously, so for the first part of lockdown, we weren't pregnant. We weren't pregnant. But going into lockdown, how did that kind of make you feel in terms of...
It's great. I really enjoyed it, purely for the fact of you had about 3 or 4 weeks off. We did all sorts of really interesting walks that we hadn't done before. It was really nice to spend the family time together. And of course, Manorfromheaven kicked off, and I got into kind of a really good rhythm of homeschooling Bear. And that was interesting because we got to spend a lot of time together I felt really lucky, in honesty, for spending that time with him, because, I wouldn't have had it otherwise. He would have been...
Hi, Kerry.
He would have been at nursery, and I would have been back at full-time work, so I feel really lucky to have got to spend that time with him.
Amazing. Vice versa. Obviously, for the first couple of weeks before Manorfromheaven, we thought it'd be part-time. But it was sensational, and questionable whether we'll get it again. But yeah, so for you...
I think with the way that Bear's matured now, especially after starting school, I've seen an effect in him since the lockdown. The last lockdown was obviously a lot worse on him because
we'll come on to Bear with the lockdown. I think that's towards the end of the questions. But so obviously, that would have been like January, February, March, kind of April for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, we went up and down with going into lockdown, out of lockdown. So obviously effect on your mental health. How was that as a parent? And essentially, I was working 12 hours a day, so I wasn't here. How did that, how was that for you?
Bit mental, in honesty, because you feel like you're going crazy because it's like living Groundhog Day. And I mean, the first lockdown was kind of like it was okay, and then of course everything loosened up for the summer. And then when I got pregnant, I was really, really poorly, and having you at work and having Bear for the summer holidays, I just felt ill all the time. And I think that took more of a toll than like the kind of like homeschooling work did, because I just felt like I was going to die. And I didn't have the support. Like my grandma would occasionally come over and help, but that was like strenuous because of everything going on. And I didn't really have anybody to kind of like help because of the lockdown. It wasn't like everybody that would usually be there, or like my friends that would usually be there that would take Bear could just take him for an afternoon, because there was the whole worry of it. So it was a lot. And I felt I feel for anybody, I feel for him, because he had to kind of deal with me being really grumpy and poorly all the time.
Yeah, there's definitely an effect as well. I think that's something which will, in a couple of years, I'm sure, and we will be able to measure, because we haven't had a situation like this before. So obviously you've had both experiences. So we were pregnant post lockdown with Bear, and that was, for me as a father, it was social. We got out in the village, we were around places, we saw people. It was a big thing, especially living in Porlock. You're well known, you're born in the village, literally you're as local as they come for this area. And it was, for me, I can see the effect. But for you, how did that make you feel, as
I think
isolated?
I think one of the things that made me feel most isolated was the fact that you weren't allowed to come to any of the appointments, and beforehand I had you at every midwife, every scan. We had to have extra scans, but for Bear, but because everything's kind of been pushed back to unless there's any problem, you have two regular scans and that's it. Everything it was really strange. It was really strange going into a 12-week scan and not having you there. It felt like almost like a doctor's appointment instead of what the magic that it is. And that was really strange. And even for the 20-week scan, you had to come in, but they made you wait outside, and I fully get it. But if I'm in there and we're from the same household, and then I wasn't allowed to say that you had to come in with me. I had to text you, because otherwise other people who hadn't had their partners there would get upset.
To congregate outside,
They had to basically, so outside of the maternity scan ward, they all of the husbands had to stand outside. There was 4 or 5 blokes just kind of stood there milling around, not really sure what they were doing. And then when they came in the room, he wasn't allowed to sit next to me or touch me at all, because we had to keep the sonographer safe. So he was on the other side of the room at a chair, and he could just about see the screen. So it was the whole
lonely, I think.
Really lonely
for you. For even for me, but massively on your part. It's
Well, that was one of the things that I struggled back with when we'd just come out of the lockdown for September and Bear had gone back to school, was the fact that I was still furloughed and there was no look at me going back to work. I couldn't come and help out with Manorfromheaven because I'm pregnant.
Nature of business.
So it was really difficult because I was on my own 24/7, because you still couldn't really see anybody, and it was cold anyway. Oh.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things is loneliness. It's such a, before all this, we were looking at trying to do Meals on Wheels. The first business plan we kind of came up with was hot meal delivery system, which would work amazing in the area if you've got the premises and place to do it. But it was heightened and emphasised with the fact you get a meal, the person would spend 15 to 20 minutes with you talking whilst they either cook the meal, or ideally, obviously, like I say, if it's hot, then it's pre-made and we'd have to look at, but anyway, community companions was the outset of that, and it was to tackle loneliness. I mean, I don't know if you know, but someone being lonely for a day has the same mortality rate as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Loneliness genuinely does kill. It takes a person away from who they really are, because we are such social animals, and that's one thing. There's been no groups, there's been no, how's that affected? Because before, there was all sorts, wasn't there? Porlock had 2 or 3.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say with this is shout out to Home Start for their antenatal classes and all of the help that they've given me, because nearing the end of my pregnancy, I was already part of them before I got pregnant, and then I kind of reconnected with them, and I do not know how I would have done natural childbirth if it wasn't for them, because of being on your own so much. Your anxiety gets heightened because you're creating scenarios in your head 24/7 that don't exist. And that really helped me. They really helped me. The classes really helped me with coming to terms with the amount of pain I was going to be in, how I was going to get through it. They've been fantastic, but not having groups was strange. I mean, usually we'd go to clowns and stuff during the summer holidays as well, and There was none of that, and
I
they're
think, like you say,
fantastic.
Home Start
Like,
did kind of fill in that gap.
Gap,
That
yeah.
you've answered that massively, and that, yeah, they continue to do so.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
So in terms of, I think, have you got anything you want to add? I want to try and keep these as short and so they can be shared and people can watch them. Obviously, we've done a few that are like 38 minutes long, and that's all good and great. But like we say, we want them to be bite-sized. People can watch them, pass them on, and yeah, hopefully everyone gets talking and realise it's okay, it's good. You know, it deals with stuff. But I've got one more question. But is there anything?
I haven't got anything else I want to add, apart from the fact that I hope everybody's well and good.
And that leads on to it. So do you have any advice for anyone that's struggling mentally right now, or is there anything you've learned in the last year with maybe Home Start, or, through the processes or different guidance that you've had to seek?
Only that it gets better, and that no matter how dark it seems or how hopeless everything seems, the universe has constantly got your back, and it's always going to get better.
Massively. There's always a silver lining, guys. It's just sometimes clouded in bullshit, believe me.
Everything does get better.
Yeah, Carrie, you're correct. It has, and yeah, we've seen it on Bear. We've seen the effect on Bear. We've seen, he's kind of grown up quite fast, you know, and he kind of knew what Corona is, and he kind of knows what masks are now, and questions are asked that you just, I suppose, wouldn't expect. But
the most worrying one that we've had is he now gets anxious on weekends that he won't be going back to school on Monday. So on Friday afternoon, I say, well, we're going to have family day tomorrow. And he gets, he asks several times, like, oh, so I will be going back to school. Are my friends going to be at school? And I get asked that 4 or 5 times over a weekend. And I have to kind of reassure him that, and especially with the holidays that's just come up as well, we were getting quite anxious towards the end of it, because I think he was ready to go back to school because, he's missed so much of it, bless him.
Massively. Well, thank you to everyone that stayed for the duration, and whoever's dipped in and out. Like and share. Like I say, the more people that talk, the better, and the healthier the world will come. Love and a massive shout out always to Chin at Xiang's in Porlock. Really nice Chinese food. Give them a look online. You've got AM Pat testing, best pat testing in the southwest. And like I say, big shout out to Homestart, and as always, the lovely village agents. Like I say, if you ever need anything at all, we're always here. If not, we'll direct you in for the right course of help. Lots of love to everyone.
Love and light.